Hello, and welcome to Pluralsight. My name is Eric Wright, and I'm your author today as we're going to be walking together through Introduction to OpenStack. I'm a blogger, and I write at discoposse.com, and you can find me on Twitter. I'm at discoposse. And as James Lipton always says, we start, as always, at the beginning. Before we get right into the real content, I wanted to give a brief overview about what exactly it is that we're going to chat about during the course. As you can imagine, there's going to be a whole lot of talk about OpenStack, and that's great. But before we get right into the specific OpenStack content, we're going to go over a few very important key cloud and virtualization concepts. This is really just to level set everybody and make sure that we're all on the same page using similar terminology so we have a good understanding in what general cloud and virtualization concepts are and how they map against what we're going to talk about in an OpenStack cloud environment. We're going to touch on the origins of OpenStack so we can get a sense on where the whole project came from and how the project itself is managed. It's quite an exciting story. We'll talk about OpenStack deployment. This is going to cover both bare metal deployments and virtualized deployments. We'll talk a little bit about orchestration and other tools and techniques on not just deploying but actually managing your OpenStack infrastructure as well. We'll talk about what's new in the latest release. OpenStack has a very aggressive release cycle, so there's going to be lots of new features that we get to talk about. We'll talk about OpenStack core services and OpenStack storage services. When I talk about core services, I generally refer to the key requirements that we have to build our very basic OpenStack cloud. Then there's specific storage services which are available in OpenStack, which can often be standalone products, and they're very distinct because storage itself is a very exciting topic. We'll talk about the OpenStack distributions, and this is going to look at different commercial and freely available options, as well as the general support ecosystem and the vendor ecosystem that's wrapped around OpenStack. Now for the important thing. What exactly are you going to need for this course? Luckily, this is an easy question to answer, and we have very few requirements. Firstly, it's important for us to have a general understanding of virtualization technologies. I'm going to assume that you've had some exposure to perhaps a VMware or a Citrix or a Microsoft Hyper-V or any kind of hypervisor environment, even in KVM or Zen server perhaps. This is going to be important, and we'll touch on some of it as we go, but it's good for you to have a background. Having a conceptual knowledge of cloud computing is also quite important. This is good because, again, while you don't need to have a deep understanding, we're going to talk about, fairly broad concepts, and we'll get into some specific details. So it's good to have a bit of a background and understanding of what general terminology is. We'll visit most of it ourselves and review, so for folks that are just getting started, don't worry, you're going to learn a lot as we go. And most importantly, it's good for all of us to have an open mind. As we head into learning something new, it's very important for us to get a sense of being able to see where it could map against our specific use case or business case and have fun along the way. So that's our plan. Now, it's time for us to get started.